Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about the current state of Battlefield 6 and why I have seen a lot of the Battlefield community's consensus on this game shift significantly since release and particularly since the beta. Going to be covering a lot of topics in this video, so let's get into it. If you enjoy the content, be sure to hit the like button, hit the sub button, and swing by the streams. I stream on this YouTube channel every day and Twitch. All links are in the description. So the TLDR is really the honeymoon period for Battlefield 6 has worn off. The beta and the release of the game are kind of like seeing your date with makeup on, and then once you spend a little time on, you get to see it without that, let's say, veil in the way, and you get to see the game for what it really is. And it's disappointing a little bit. Now, I want to really make sure I get this point across in the beginning of this video. I'm not saying Battlefield 6 failed or anything. All I'm saying is the game simply isn't as good as a lot of people thought it was. It is now extremely clear to many people this game has larger problems than what was initially thought. And the way I see it, it's actually pretty straightforward. I want to touch on the content and the content pacing first. So, as of right now, there's basically nothing going on in the game, and the developers are on vacation. This is obviously due to the holiday season, but I have to say, Battlefield's live service content pacing has always sucked. And I'm sure a lot of people will agree with me when I say the amount of content we get in these seasons just doesn't seem like enough. We get 2 maps, which that novelty wears off in about, I don't know, maybe about a week of playing the new maps, and then you're kind of just sitting there going, okay, like, you have to wait 3 months or 4 months or whatever? So the amount of content is really suspect. It always has been with Battlefield's live service model. I just simply don't think 2 maps per season is ever going to be enough to truly tide over the player base of the game. But maybe 2 maps per season would be enough for the players if Battlefield 6's gameplay was just, well, a little bit more interesting and engaging. One of Battlefield 6's largest problems is the game just kind of doesn't have any skill curve. You can learn how to play Battlefield 6 at a very high level in about, I don't know, I'd say 10 hours if you're pretty good at other FPS games and you come over to learn this game. Maybe learning the maps and all that will take you longer, fair enough. I'm talking raw mechanics. To sit down and learn Battlefield 6 mechanics and be like really fucking good, I'm not even joking, will probably take you less than 10 hours. The game has very little depth, and honestly, the gameplay can be a little boring. The same cannot be said for games like Battlefield 4, where the game had enough depth in every single area to where it didn't even matter if that game didn't get content for, what, a decade now, because the gameplay itself is the content. The gameplay itself is good enough to stand the test of time. As of right now, you cannot say that about Battlefield 6's gameplay, in my opinion. Vehicle gameplay is shit. Let's just call it like it is. The mechanics are nowhere near as good as they should be, and they aren't even as good as previous Battlefield vehicle gameplay mechanics, such as, again, Battlefield 3, 4, I'll even throw 5 in there. But looking at the infantry gameplay, it's kind of just, number 1, frustrating, and number 2, lacks depth. One of the things in Battlefield 6's gameplay design that is extremely clear is they intentionally designed this game to be hyper casual. And when you do something like that, you gut the game of depth. And that is just a direct side effect of that sort of gameplay design. And there are multiple factors for this. Number 1, the time to kill up close is blisteringly fast. The movement, while it isn't a problem in my opinion right now, is quite simple. It's, I would say, more simple than previous Battlefield game movement. I would say BF6's movement is more simplistic in comparison to Battlefield 4, Battlefield 5, Hardline, and 2042. So there isn't much depth there. And then you have to take into account the other things that sort of reduce the skill curve of the game, with sniping being the easiest and most overpowered sniping in Battlefield history. As of right now, Battlefield 6's snipers are even stronger than Battlefield 1's. I never thought I would say that ever in my life. Okay, that's how strong the sweet spot in BF1 was. But they blew it out of the water with the rangefinder and the faster velocities and bringing the sweet spot back. It's just out of control. And the final element here is the fact that headshots just don't seem to matter for most weapons in Battlefield 6. Yes, of course, you can equip headshot ammo on 33 damage model weapons, such as the AK-4D, and then they feel like previous Battlefield game headshots, where they do feel like they matter, and they do feel like people die faster. But for the majority of weapons, even if you do equip headshot ammo, the damage models don't change. The bullets to kill literally stay the same, which make headshots feel completely unrewarding. Now, when you chalk all of this stuff up and you look at it, I don't think you can say this is incompetence. All of this stuff that I just spoke about, the close quarters time to kill being too quick, headshots not mattering, snipers being overpowered, movement being simplistic, vehicle design being simplistic and worse than previous titles. All of this stuff is deliberate. They know exactly what they're doing, and it is intentionally to further casualize Battlefield 6 as a game in an attempt to hold on to a larger player base of people. Battlefield has always been a casual game, but it hasn't really been this casual, okay? And when you have gameplay that is this casual, it just isn't that entertaining. And I think the biggest problem with all of this stuff is that the solutions are not necessarily simple, okay? If they want to readjust the close quarters time to kill, and let's say they get rid of 3 bullet to kill weapons, yeah, that's going to have to be a time to kill pass, and they're more than likely going to have to rebalance every single weapon damage model in the entire game. That is a major update worthy thing to do. Now, things that are maybe easier to fix, the sniping issue, okay, you just nerf snipers. But I don't think they're going to do it. And the easiest reason to see why is Battlefield RedSec. I think they made snipers overpowered because of RedSec. I think they made free fire rocket velocities as high as they are, like the RPG, because of RedSec. Battlefield didn't have a battle royale to worry about in terms of balancing before, so this just adds yet another layer of complexity and yet another wall for them to basically consider these changes not worth doing. And then when it comes to vehicle design, vehicles, I've said this in multiple previous videos, they basically need to be completely overhauled. And if you're not going to overhaul them, then you better get this balance between vehicles versus vehicles and infantry versus vehicles down so perfectly that it completely changes the entire way vehicle gameplay is in Battlefield 6. But I don't think that's enough. I honestly think they need better balance, and they need to be redesigned. And the issue with a lot of this stuff is that it isn't necessarily surface level, okay? Which is why it took a little bit for the general player base to really catch on to a lot of this stuff and say, you know, damn, this game has larger problems than we thought. The same thing can be said for the maps. I see the general consensus for Battlefield 6 maps going literally down the drain. In fact, I've seen people go from saying Battlefield 6 has great maps on launch to saying that these maps are actually fucking terrible. There's no doubt in my mind, Battlefield knew exactly what they were doing when they made Cairo the map that was playable in the beta. They knew that was their best map they had on offer at the time. And throughout my playtime, playing all the maps in Battlefield 6, yes, I have to say my opinion of them has plummeted a little bit. I still think Cairo is the best map in the game by a mile, and the rest of them, honestly, I could do without them. I think the other notable maps in the game are probably Iberian, and then maybe Empire State and Mirak Valley. Other than that, I think the rest of them are just categorically forgettable. And going back to talk about some infantry mechanics here, have you guys noticed some other weird interactions with explosives in this game? Like, for instance, going back to the casual game design conversation, have you noticed how far claymores damage you from and how invisible they are? I think that might actually be intentional, so that players get rewarded with undeserved claymore kills more often, which makes them feel better, right? Same thing can be said with the assault grenade launcher. Have you guys been barrel stuffed by that thing, and the person that killed you with it just stands there and they took 0 damage? Yeah, I think that's also intentional. I think they want the explosive damage gameplay of this game to basically just reward people with easy kills. And the worst thing is, come Season 2, if Temporal's leaks are correct from over a month ago at this point, Season 2 will add impact grenades to the game. Yes, so I certainly hope Temporal is wrong on that front, but unfortunately for us, he actually has a pretty good track record with being correct. So when it comes time to hear about Season 2 and the developers come back from their vacations, they really have to hit the ground running trying to address some of these issues and trying to make some way in improving Battlefield 6 so that it can reach its full potential, because I think the full potential of Battlefield 6 is astronomical. I think it has potential still, even with these issues and even with how difficult the solutions are, to be one of the best Battlefield games really ever made. Of course, given that the maps they add in Season 2 aren't like Blackwell Fields. So in essence, it's going to take a lot of gameplay tweaking. Some of it is easy, like nerfing snipers. Some of it is very difficult, like getting rid of the close range 3 bullet kill ranges on either all weapons across the entire game, or maybe only some weapons. I could see an argument for leaving a 3 bullet to kill range for the AK-4D because the RPM is so low, but then you have weapons like the SCW-10 in the game, and yeah, it's just kind of annoying as fuck to die to. 150 millisecond time to kill. You can't even react or fight back. And the last thing I'll say to end this video off is, I basically want them to deepen the Battlefield 6 gameplay experience slightly with a multitude of changes. Now, I have to emphasize slightly, because I think some people listen to what I want Battlefield to do with the game, and they assume, oh, you know, Enders wants to essentially completely change the entire game and make it super sweaty. No, I think if you did everything that I suggested, or everything that I would like, it would be a very slightly different version of Battlefield 6, but different in important, impactful areas that make small gameplay changes that actually end up being really large. So that's it for this video. Battlefield 6, gonna have an interesting time moving forward. For those of you wondering about the tips and tricks videos, yes, I will be bringing those back, and I will be bringing back Battlefield coaching. I had to put it on pause for a little bit, just because of the release craze of Battlefield 6. I did not have any time. Now I do have time, now that basically nothing is going on. So for those of you that are interested, I will probably make a tips and tricks video here coming up in the next few days that details all of that in the beginning portion. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy, hit the like button, hit the sub button, and let me know your thoughts in the comments about all this stuff and what you would do with Battlefield 6 and where the game is right now. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.